So I was looking at some stuff on the internet and I saw that somebody had a post that had been screenshotted and shared. And the screenshot and share said that drag in front of children is now a sex crime. Then it went on to say sex crimes in Florida receive the death penalty. Then they said that this is exactly why they suggest that the LGBTQ is under attack. Well, before I Google this, to put this to rest, here's a couple of thoughts. Lesbians and gays are just regular members of the family. Lesbians and gays can now get married. Lesbians and gays can now have children. They couldn't have any of those things 100 years ago, probably 50 years ago. So there's progression. Okay? Black people were slaves, so were Irish, Scandinavian, European. At least in America, none of them are slaves today. Okay? So, there's progression. Okay? There's forward moving policies and politics that have benefited people. But we're not concerned about a woman wearing blue jeans and a jacket. No. Drag, in its most simplest form, could be anything from Mrs. Doubtfire to full on lingerie at that show that they do every year where everyone's running around in underwear. I've had friends, family, and associates all try to tell me to go watch it. I just don't want to see guys in their underwear, so I don't go. But here's the thing. Now, I haven't looked at the bill. I'm going to. I'll give you an honest reaction, honest reply to it. But it's not about women dressing as men because they're not really doing it. And the ones that aren't hurting a fly. It's the men taking from women, putting on woman face, and then being overly sexual. For years, women have been saying that they didn't want to be reduced to sexuality. For years, women have been saying, I'm more than a pair of breasts and a coochie. And then what do the transgender men do? Oh my god, I want to be a woman. I need a coochie. I got to have the biggest pair of titties I can have, and I'm gonna flaunt them. Reducing the female body down to the sexual organs. Okay? I do not have any respect for Dylan Mulvaney, and he's doing this thing where he says, it should be commonplace for women with bulges. I understand that if you have a penis and you don't want to chop it off, there's going to be a bulge. And if you do chop it off, that's kind of against certain things that the rest of the community is in understanding of. Like, I don't think people should chop their penises off. So, I'm going to end up with some people saying that they're women that have dicks. That makes sense because they're not being allowed to go but so far. The problem is not that you have a bulge. It's that you're showing it off in a G-string. Pride Month. It's okay to have a rainbow shirt. It's okay to kiss your partner in your car at a Target's. It's okay to go home and get railed or whatever it is that you think you want to do in the comfort of your house. It's okay to pay a priest that does not care about anything that he's reading in the Bible to decide to marry you, even though marriage is not a religious function. It's a government function for how they keep track of who's getting taxes, who's not getting taxes, who's working, who's not, da 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 da, and they keep track of property and family. Marriage. It's a government piece of paper, not a biblical one, because all of the Bibles from all of the religions all seem to mention marriage, but they don't say marriage. They say a man and a woman, and you just immediately assume that they're married. Okay? But regardless of the religion part being completely shoehorned into there out of nowhere, that all of this back and forth and the static in between, the only thing they're asking is that you don't put on a G string and strut your stuff in front of a 3-year-old and then twerk 4 feet from their face. How? How does it hurt your feelings to be told that you can't twerk in front of a 3-year-old? There are teachers who have decided they don't want to teach if they can't tell children about how they put on women's underwear and then go home and get screwed by another man. How is it offensive? Why is it hurting people to be told, no, you can't take a drug that chemically castrates sex crimes? People found guilty of sex crimes. Why is it so damn hard for people to literally go, okay, it's not just about me. There's hundreds of thousands of people out there, and I'm the one with an issue up here, and I can't force it on everyone. It's a minute, tiny percentage of people, and this tiny percentage of people are screaming the loudest, and they have support from family and friends who think it's okay to ignore mental illness. Mental illness is what caused the Christian shooting at that school. Now, I get it. I do. I understand. Hold on with me, okay? The Norse pagan in me completely understands there is no love. There's no hate like Christian love. I get it. I do. I have had some very hateful arguments with Christians. I have. You know who else I've had some very hateful arguments with? Muslims. You know who else I've had some very hateful arguments with? Vegans. You know who else I've had some very hateful arguments with? The people from PETA. You can swear you're a good person all you want, but as soon as someone has a different opinion than you start pulling out the GD, the MF, all of this, comparing your life to theirs and deciding that because you like the way yours looks better, you're best. That's a problem. But there's one thing that all animals across the entire world have in common, and that's that they have children. And all of them don't keep track of their children. A lot of them push them out of the nest the day they're born. Some of them eat their children. But we as humans, even the monkeys, have been protecting children for hundreds of thousands of years. You don't want to do the religion thing? Fine, don't. But for hundreds of thousands of years, even in an atheist's theory, children have been protected. And there is nothing wrong with protecting their future. If they go ahead and they take these surgeries and they take these pills and they get things chopped off, they can never have children. If they grow up to be 18 and then decide they want to do this, it didn't hurt anyone once they're 18 to go down somewhere and have it done. But they have their choice when they're old enough to make those choices. They can't drink at 5 years old. They can't smoke at 5 years old. They can't vote at 5 years old. They can't work at 5 years old. They shouldn't have to deal with sexuality at 5 years old. You take a newborn puppy and put it, little boy puppy, and you put it in front of a female puppy, they're not going to have sex. You take a puppy and put it in front of a female in heat, he's not going to have sex with her. He's too young. He's got the instincts in there because those dogs don't teach sex ed. But he doesn't function that way because he's too young. Now, us humans, we're a little bit different. Whenever your balls drop, you're fertile, you're ready to hit the ground. That doesn't mean that you want it. That doesn't mean that you're ready and all of this, that, and the other. And the same with girls. There's some girls, maybe they have their period at 9 or 8, and that's a bit young in my opinion. In other countries, they get married at 9 and 8. And that's other countries, which we need to be staying out of, like Ukraine. But, again, we, here in America, we don't have slaves anymore. The sex slaves are unknown to us. We're trying to catch them. If you'd let us close the border just a little bit, we might catch more. We'll be setting kids free. The kids that you've forgotten about because you decided that the kids that, have a mental problem are more important. Well, for the record, why would there be such a steadily increased number of people who are trans? No, there's not. Y'all have these kids coming to school, wearing like boys' clothes or clothes that aren't specifically super manly man, and they go, "Oh, well, you're not wearing a super buff manly man shirt. You're probably trans. We think you need medication." Girl comes to school in boys' clothes and she's a little bit moody on top of it, and they go, "Oh, you must be depressed and you're trans." What happened to tomboys? What happened to femboys? What happened to all of those in between? Now, see, I wasn't a femboy, and I'm not a femboy. And femboy crosses a very clear line in between gay, straight, metrosexual. Yeah, y'all forgotten about metrosexual, huh? Y'all really pushed it right out of your LGBTQ agenda. Well, see, here's the thing. All of those things are still things, but instead of allowing a guy to be metrosexual, which just means he's clean cut, well dressed, he likes being clean and smelling good, and his fingernails are nice, his shoes are nice, his hair is nice. Instead of letting someone do that, he has to be feminine. He needs to put on a dress. He has to get his dick chopped off because he is clearly transgender. And the people that are pushing this are pushing it so that they can add to their tally of numbers, so that they can say it's a bigger deal than it is, but it's not. And the number of people being diagnosed is speeding up because they're diagnosing it with less and less requirements all the time. So, all of these people are not even trans. And on top of that, a lot of them have had it shoved in their face and now they think they're trans. That's not a healthy way to start any of this. So, at the very least, we're leaving the children out of it. Okay? We're going to leave the children out of this. We're going to let them make their decisions when they become an adult old enough to understand these things. A lot of the kids that y'all want to do drag queen story hour to, and y'all want to wear lingerie in front of, haven't even been to sex ed. Where is the line between pedophile and person that's just doing the wrong thing start to cross? It crosses at children. You can shoplift, be doing a wrong thing, and not be a pedophile. But if you shoplift while touching a child, you're a pedophile. You could just be touching the child and you're a pedophile. You can look at a child incorrectly and be a pedophile. If you're looking at this child and you're staring at their ass and you're staring at the body parts that haven't developed yet, if you're trying to see a bulge, you're a pedophile. Okay? It's plain and simple. It doesn't matter if your feelings are hurt. You are what you are. And if you want to be transgender because you think it makes life simpler, it doesn't. If you want to be transgender because some doctor somewhere went, tell me about yourself, and after 15 minutes they go, you might be trans. No. If you've had 5 or 6 different doctors tell you you might be trans, and none of them have spent 6 or 7 months with you, no. And even if you're trans, it's not that your body is wrong, it's that your mind up here is different. And the mind needs to be treated, okay? It's how do I explain this to somebody who genuinely doesn't care about the truth? So, y'all aren't all bad people, but there are bad people amongst you. White people aren't all bad, but there was, a Nazi Germany. And when Nazi Germany happened, all of the European country white folk started to look like monsters. And the white folk in America already look like monsters because, the slavery was never allowed to be let go of. We're not ever allowed to let go of that. So all white people carry this whole we're monster thing everywhere we go. Christians have done tons of really bad things, and so they're carrying this we're monsters thing everywhere we go. You can too. You can too. There's some bad people amongst y'all too. And just like people are making those jokes about the priest and the altar boy, there's a plenty of pedophiles dressing up like a woman because they get a chance to go into the women's bathroom and watch some kid take a pee, or film something, or sneak a little camera into a wall outlet that looks like a Glade plug-in. You can see them, you can find them. They exist. So don't pull this shit and then think that y'all are this completely innocent little bunch. You're not. You personally may not be committing a crime, but there's a number of you that are. Sound familiar? That's a just about word for word what people have been saying about the gun community for a while. Wow, to be a white Christian gun owner. God, truly a a white Christian German gun owner. That must really hit hard. You are one hell of a monster if you're a white male Christian gun owner. Holy fuck. Okay. Now that I believe that my point's been made, not that people that are transgender are going to listen and go, wow, he makes sense. I'm going to change my life. But now that I've said that, because it does make sense, okay, not everyone that's being listed as trans is trans, and not everyone that looks one way or the other way needs to be trans. And, we've protected children for a long time. We're going to continue to protect children. I've said all of these things. Let's check and see if that post was even true. What post? I know it's been about 17 minutes here of me rambling, so let me go right back to it. There was a post made on social media. It floated into the internet. It was even on YouTube that said that the crime of performing drag in front of children in Florida is a sex crime. Well, drag is a sexual thing. And if it wasn't, you wouldn't be putting on a different sex's clothes. Okay? But that being a sex crime yields death penalty. Let's look it up real quick because I don't believe that's the death penalty in Florida. Let's look. Okay. So sex crimes in Florida get death penalty. Which, don't get me wrong, I actually wouldn't mind if sex crimes yielded death penalty. But let's see. Okay, I'm seeing three things here that don't look good for me. So let's pull these up and go ahead and read them from left to right. I've opened 1, 2, 3, 4 pages. Okay, let's see what the very first one says. Florida passes bill to give convicted child sex offenders the death penalty. Okay, now the post that I read was that drag in front of children is a sex offense, a sex crime. Not a child sex crime, a sex crime. Although I feel like it could be a child sex crime. Because why are you so intent to do it in front of children? Why? Drag queening has been a club thing, has been a strip club thing for so long. So why do you have to do it in front of children? Do it in a bar. It's a public place, but it's not around children. Okay? Then, if it's a crime, it's not a child sex crime. Therefore, you don't get the death penalty. And I'm reading, it does say Florida passes bill to give convicted child sex offenders the death penalty. Let's read this a little bit. This is in bold, so let's read that. This is an article from Unilad, by the way. Lawmakers in Florida have passed a bill that will see people convicted of pedophilia and child sex offenses given the death penalty. Now, pedophilia and child sex offenses. What are those two things? Maybe you should consider what doing drag is. Also, it passed. That means the majority of people are voting this way. The bill was given the green light after Florida Senator Ron DeSantis backed the proposed legislation in order to clamp down on sex crimes against children under the age of 12. Not even protecting 13, not even protecting 14, not even protecting 15, not even protecting 16. I can go all the way to 17. 18 is adult, so it couldn't possibly protect them. But based on this, if you strip down to a thong and shake your ball sack in the thong in a public Walmart in front of a 13-year-old, oh, just a regular sex crime, not a child sex crime. You're not going to get pedophilia and child sex crime charges and get the death penalty. You'll get a regular charge, and they'll probably throw it out when they see you have a mental problem and need to be in an institution. But for the love of God, let's check on the next one. When it loads. Whenever it loads. Come on. Got people waiting here. Still the Unilad. Okay. I want people to understand I'm not making this up. I do have very slow computers. Doesn't seem like it wants to open. So if you give me just a sec. There we go. All right. Looks like we're going to read this article. I was going to pull it up on the other one or the tablet or the Apple tablet. It gets to be special, so it gets to be called the Apple tablet. So fact check Florida. This looks like it's from usatoday.com. It has not loaded, but we're now on the tab, so I'm assuming it's coming up any second now. Okay, I can't do this. This is too slow. I'll have an hour-long video and nothing to show but me staring at a screen that you can't even see. Okay, so let's back out of YouTube over here. And let's do sex crimes in Florida. Get death penalty. That's amazing that we're saying child sex crimes because that means you don't get the death penalty for raping a full-grown woman, but you do get a charge for touching a child. Now, I am for killing pedophiles. I am. I think most people are. You scar a child for life. You terrify a child for life. You terrify them of a gender, any gender. They become scared of women. They become scared of men, whatever. Yeah. Yeah, you took their life from them. I don't really have a problem with it. It's the when we start to jump because a 3-year-old's being able to mimic what their mother's saying that I don't trust. Because I'm a single father male, and I could totally see a lot of those old videos where mothers or fathers have told their child what to say to get the other one out of the picture. And I could see having them killed being the ultimate removal, but I am for actual sex crimes being punished heavily. Okay, let's see here. Well, hey, it popped up over here. Okay, so that's looks like the other one closed. Is this Unilad? Yeah, let's close Unilad. Well, now we're stuck. No, okay, here we go. No, that's not it either. Why? Okay. Damn. DeSantis proposes death penalty for certain sex crimes, increased punishment for fentanyl. Now, increased punishment for fentanyl doesn't seem to be a sex thing. Okay, but we're gonna scroll down. This is Tampa Bay Times. It says we want to make sure that we cement our reputation as being a law and order state and take actions as necessary to help further protect the people of the state of Florida. Governor Ron DeSantis said during news conference Thursday, the Miami Police Benevolent Association Hall. Now, let me go ahead and say something that people aren't thinking about. You can't carry a gun in Florida for most reasons. He's really tough on guns. A little bit too tough, really, but he's tough on guns. So, since a man knows you don't have a gun, rape becomes a big possibility when he's really horny. He doesn't like you in the first place, and he just wants a little something something. It only really becomes a deterrent if he's afraid he's going to get the death penalty. You know, you're not going to kill him, and maybe somebody else should. That being said, I feel like we're overlooking some stuff here because the death penalty doesn't appear to be for rape against full grown women. It only appears to be any crime that's in sexual nature towards children. Okay, and let me just go ahead and ask Google. Wrong keyboard. Well, let me ask Google on this computer. Is drag a sexual act? Okay. Drag queen via Wikipedia. And I'm going to open that, and then I'm going to open Too Afraid to Ask on Reddit. Is drag inherently sexual? Okay. So, drag queen by Wikipedia, which is edited by everybody. A drag queen is a person, usually male, who uses drag clothing and makeup to imitate and often exaggerate female gender signifiers and gender roles for entertainment purposes. So, historically, drag queens have usually been gay men and have been part of gay culture. What is gay? Well, gay is a sexuality. It is sexual. So, inherently, drag is part of sexuality, usually for gay people. People do drag for reasons ranging from self-expression to mainstream performance. Drag shows frequently include lip singing, live singing, dancing, typically occur at LGBT pride parades, drag pageants, cabarets, carnivals, and nightclubs. Why would it be done at cabarets and nightclubs and carnivals if it wasn't something sexually entertaining? It is something sexually entertaining. So let's consider that. You're doing something that goes on at strip clubs in front of children. Okay. Let's say a straight white woman strips down into her underwear, lingerie underwear, and does a good little old lap dance in front of a 5-year-old boy. She's not trans, so she's not pushing your agenda. Is it okay? Is it okay? We've never once had an issue with a woman dressing skimpy and lap dancing 5-year-olds. We've had a few inappropriate teachers having sex with their children, the children in their class. They were punished, by the way. There's no special exemptions for someone being straight or bi or gay. Being trans is not being spiked here. Being drag is a sexual act, and the sexual act is forbidden in front of children. Just as you wouldn't see a stripper giving a 5-year-old a lap dance. Okay? Let's keep going, though, because I'm trying my damnedest to give you a fair shot. Is drag inherently sexual? A library near me has decided to host a drag queen story hour, and a lot of people are up in arms about it, stating it is shoving sexuality down children's throats and grooming children to question their sexuality. I don't know anything about the history of this, and Googling gave me mixed results. To me, it just seems like someone dressing up, like performance art. Okay, so I'm going to read a couple of people's opinions and just see what they have to say. Some dude says, no, it's not inherently sexual. Here in the UK, drag is a pretty huge part of pantomime theater, which is made mostly for children. It's never done any harm. It all goes over their heads anyway. Only the adults in the room care. Mostly for children. Sorry, the missus came home. Okay. Someone said, no, it's not sexual. It can be. Like, everything can be if you make it so. I mean, a picture of a cucumber can be sexual in the right content, but drag isn't sexual in itself. It says, no, it's not inherently sexual. It's a costume. Provides drama if kids can grow up to be not so judgmental. Okay. Okay. Well, then let me look up drag in front of children photos. Let's see if we see harmless or not. Images. I don't know why it's loading so slowly. I almost wonder if I should do this in front of the camera. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at what we see here. Drag queen strips in front of children at story hour event. And it does most definitely seem to have her butt right here. For clarity, let's zoom in. Definitely has clothing at her ankles. Definitely appears to be a thong-like substance there. Okay. So the very first thing is a video of sexual nature. Huh. Okay. This seems innocent. This seems innocent. This seems somewhat innocent, but the children are laying all over the woman, and I don't agree with that because the woman is actually a man, and you start rubbing children up against a man, it's just inappropriate. Okay. This looks like a completely naked man in front of a girl. I would argue this isn't even drag. You can kind of see it, but I guess the page is so messed up now. There's no pants there. There's no clothes there. There's nothing. I don't know how they got that photo, but that's all kinds of indecent. Looks like someone's being circled there. Yep. This one, right here. Hold on. Let's not lose. Where'd it go? I want to point out the sexual nature. This one right here. So let's keep track of it as I zoom in. Oop. Can you see the children? They've been circled. This person has their legs open with their vaginal area, which would be vaginal area, directly pointing at the children. Just directly. And that is of a sexual nature in lingerie. Okay. Let's see. Drag queen filmed teaching children to twerk. Twerking is of a sexual nature. People do it in clubs because they like how it looks or they're confident about their body. Twerking is sexual, but drag queen doing it in front of children. Mm, yeah, definitely looks like there's some. Here's the thing. It may not be all, but it's some. Wasn't it just a couple of years ago we said, well, I believe it was Rihanna that sung "It's Not All Men, but It's Some of Them." It's not all men, but it's some of them. Let's let that pop up. But in the meantime, let's just keep track that I've showed very, very large number of things I could pick out of the first page of drag queens being sexually indecent in front of children. So it's not that it's not happening. And if it is happening, do you care that it's happening? Do you actually care? If you don't care, you're part of the problem. Oh, remember that from climate change? Funny. So funny. Let's see. So, right here, not all men. A dude's favorite argument misses the point. Some guys are nice, who only want a virgin, or some just marry only to have sex. Not all men. Some treat you as human, lesser because they're more human. They let you work and come home late, and some of them will even let you wear pants, but of course, they're not rapists. Not all men. That's a thing about not all men meme. Raise a defense against sexism and misogyny. The not all men defense against feminist arguments is infuriating and unhelpful. Okay, well, right this minute, not all drag queens are pedophiles. It's infuriating and unhelpful. The problem is the ones that do harm the children. The problem is the ones that do strip in front of the children, and they actively are doing so. So let's put up the death penalty and make them stop. You can do your drag at the strip club where it belongs.